Brian, I suppose start with season tickets, and the sales have been very good.
Yeah, delighted that we're actually ahead of this time last year. There was always a concern that we maybe wouldn't reach the levels, but we changed the deadlines this year as well to extend it to the 15th, and hopefully we've got the message out. Most of the people seem to have realised that the deadline wasn't on Saturday, and they've had a busy, the ticket office have had a very busy week, which I'm delighted to report that we're actually over where we were this time last year, which is brilliant for everybody.
It was like that last 10 days, wasn't it? And people basically started to get the message, and we were doing like 100 or 200 a day.
Yeah, we tried to publicise it, I think, as much as possible, whether it's through our own media circles or whether it's a Shropshire Star or the radio. It's important we got the message out. We even put messages in the toilets at the stadium here just to make sure that everybody was aware that the deadline was the 15th. But hopefully we've captured most people and got the point over. The Supporters Parliament also helped us with that too, to get the word out that the deadline was a deadline. But even that aside, the next tranche of prices is it still a very good saving on normal match day prices as well, and that goes out until the fixtures come out. So there's still an opportunity to save money and buy a season ticket.
I mean, that's quite sensible, isn't it? Because some people may not know what games they can come to, and it gives them that chance to sort of look at the fixtures and the calendar.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that it does hopefully make sense to everybody that we are trying to use common sense when we're picking dates of when the different prices come in. We're also looking at other ways as well that we can try and encourage more people who can't perhaps make more than 15 games a year or whatever to come, who have some kind of membership scheme that's maybe for those who come to more than 6 games a year to use the flexi ticket, but maybe come to more than 10 games a year, but because of the work commitment. So we're looking at that just now. As you know, we're trying to make it better for everybody, and obviously hopefully encourage more people to come along.
One little bit of disappointing news is the new kit, which won't be available for Southend.
No, we'd hoped that all things being equal, the new sponsor would be able to be on sale as soon as possible, but the talks are ongoing just now with a number of parties, I've got to say, but we'll obviously have the kit out once we've got the sponsor on it as well, so it's important we tie up all the loose ends at the one time.
I mean, in case of Array, the kit would be able to launch next week, but it's just that sponsor and tying it down. Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, from the sponsor's point of view as well, you have to have the sponsor on the kit, and from the supporters' point of view, they want the sponsor on the kit because it's a replica of what the first team are wearing. It's unfortunate, obviously we'd rather tie all these deals up earlier so that we could get this out on sale before the end of the season, but hopefully just the main thing is to get the sponsorship out of the way and get them out as soon as we can.
With the sponsorship as well, the kit, the stadium, I guess it's all still ongoing.
Yeah, as I say, we're speaking to a few parties just now trying to just finalise things, and hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later we can get it all over the line.
Recent addition to the match day has been the fan zone, and it seems to have gone down and well and been received by the fans.
Yeah. No, delighted with how that's come about. From the club point of view, I think obviously Jamie's been running it from the community side, but it's been really good for us to take part and be able to see how it is, how it's operated. We've been blessed as well with very good weather for any of the weekend matches that's had it as well, which has obviously helped. And we also need to look at from us, if we're trying to provide a solution long term, is how do we do this so that it's not just the summer months that we have this fan zone, it's somewhere that we can bring people to. People will be encouraged to come to the stadium before the game for a pre-match drink, but in the winter time as well. So it's never going to be an earner for the football club. It's the most important thing is to try and encourage people to come here early and come to the stadium, rather than go to a pub maybe nearby and then decide, you know what, it's raining now, I'll not go to the football, because we're slightly out of town than we were before.
I guess it's about having those options, because we've been lucky with the weather for the last few games. It's been great sunshine, but as you say, as soon as the rain and the cold months come. Yeah,
it's a difficult one, because in an ideal world through the winter you'd have a building, and through the summer months, the marquee or outside weather, the way it's been the last few games has been brilliant, and it's worked really well, and it's great to have young local live bands as well, obviously who are enjoying the experience of being able to showcase their music as well, which I think everybody's taken to at the same time.
One question that keeps getting bandied around at the moment is the salons for people like Connor and Harry and Ryan, and I guess with Brighton going up, that's one of the ones that we'll be looking at.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, the way Connor's was actually worded is that he actually has to have played a certain number of games in the season of their promotion. Unfortunately, with his own personal medical situation, he obviously hasn't achieved the games, which obviously we're delighted for Brighton and Hove Albion, but obviously from our own selfish point of view, we're slightly disappointed that we're going to miss out on that clause. But the most important thing I think for everybody would be to wish Connor all the best, and hopefully he makes a full and speedy recovery and gets back playing, and hopefully we'll see him playing in the Premiership.
Indeed. One other thing as well, with the fan zone and the half time, we're looking at old players and ex-players to come back and do talks and to do the draw, so looking into an ex-players association.
Yeah, we've been, obviously the media department and myself have been speaking about how we can try and make this better with the commercial guys. I think it's important now that we've had the fan zone and obviously in operation a few games. We've obviously got our own sponsors lounge, we've got the Sovereign Club members, and there is an opportunity there for former players to come along. A lot of them love coming back to the stadium, come to the games, and it's trying to make that into a formal organisation or whatever, that we have certain ones coming to every single game, because I think the fans will take to that as well. It's good for the Sovereign Club members, it's good for the sponsors, and also good in the fan zone. I know obviously some of the guys, Ken Moherne's here every single week, and I think he's going to go to the fan zone with a couple of ex-players on Saturday after the game against Southend. So I think the fans always like to see former players and have a chat and get speak again about the past times as well. So hopefully that's something we can get up and running and move forward, because it's good for everybody.
Talking about fans, the awards on Thursday night, so the pool there and the players, and hopefully it'll be a good night. Yeah,
I mean, obviously there was criticism, to be honest, last year, which I think we had to take on the chin. Late on, Mickey decided to give the players a number of days off, having picked the time, so there wasn't enough players there that should have been there. However, Paul, I've explained all this to Paul, and Paul picked the date for this Thursday night, 6 o'clock till 7:30, and I'm assuming that practically the whole squad, if not all the squad, will be there. Paul certainly been there, and Doige as well. So I think it's an opportunity for the players and the management team to thank the supporters as well, and for all their hard endeavours through the season, because at the end of the day, the amount of miles, you just need to look at nearly 700 fans who travelled through to Northampton yesterday, and I mean the backing they gave the team was quite incredible. It was brilliant, good atmosphere, and it only helps the players. You just need to see the Walsall game and how they reacted in Walsall as well. How many times this season have we said either the fans have got us over the line or the fans have got us a result? Because it's the whole 12th man thing, and it's so important to Paul and the players and everybody at the club.
I suppose in a perfect world, the last home game on a Saturday would be a perfect time to do it, but the thoughts of the manager, the league survival and other things come into it.
Well, kind of Paul preempted this when we started speaking about this a few months ago, that he would hate to have to go to Oxford last game of the season and have a Player of the Year award on the Saturday, and his preference was to have it on the Thursday, because he knew then if he did it as early as possible, 6 to 7:30, obviously schools are still off I think in the area, and then the players who are not necessarily living that close by are still getting back home at a reasonable time, but then they're coming back on the Friday and ready to prepare for the Southend game, which is obviously a huge game for the football club, and their full concentration was not about the Player of the Year, it was about the match in hand on the Saturday.
Also as well, a few people looking to the Southend game and whether we're going to do any ticket office, but I guess it's just a little too late.
Yeah, it's one of these ones, it's a difficult one, obviously, at the time you're trying to sell season tickets, which we have been, we're delighted with the numbers that have, but it's one of these ones, we looked at it before, did we do some kind of offer? We looked at this back in February, but obviously I think you've got to try and encourage people to do season tickets and not affect them in any way. We've sold, I think this morning, over 1,100 tickets already for the Southend game, so there's going to be hopefully a good support getting behind the team. We have done a couple of recent offers, obviously with the Bury and the AFC Wimbledon game as well, and it is a fine line sometimes, just putting offers out that doesn't affect the season ticket holders, because at the end of the day we need them to make sure they realise they get value for money for their season tickets, because they're the ones, 2,500, over 2,500 of them have purchased for next season, and let's be honest, they've done it without even knowing what league we're going to be in.
I suppose as well it's the importance of having something like Supporters Parliament, because once the season is over or coming to the end, we can look back and then plan for next season and the season after on how to do things.
Well, that's just, obviously we've been speaking to Supporters Parliament about ticket offers and ticket prices and things like that, and season tickets even as well, and it's important for us to get that engagement with the supporters, to actually say, because sometimes it's even just explaining from our own side, just out of honesty and transparency, why we do this and why we do it this way, and to bounce off ideas from the Supporters Parliament. Certainly the last meeting I was at was very fruitful. Loads of good ideas came out of that one, which we're obviously trying to follow up on. So it's important that we engage with the supporters as much as we possibly can and get the fans backing to any offers we do.
I mean, you mentioned the fans back in there. I mean, it has been great, but I guess that's also down to what goes on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Paul's record, I think everybody can. It's clear to see. I think he's averaging, from my maths, it was 1.3 points per game for his league season. I think it's 29 games he's been charged with now. Now, if you take that over the course of the season, that would be 60 odd points, which would have taken us actually in the top 10 in the league. So we are still slightly paying for the early part of the season, but I think everybody sees that there's a benefit in what Paul's trying to pull and Chris are trying to achieve. The players, the squad have improved dramatically since the early part of the season, and we've picked up a lot of points. Hopefully we can get enough points over the next couple of games and retain our League One status, and then we are hopeful that next year that Paul can continue his 1.3 average or even above it, and then we can go on to greater things.
I suppose that's always one of the arguments that people and supporters put out. It's like we react to what goes on the pitch, so if you take it in isolation of that, it looks like we're starting to get things quite well there.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is, from off the pitch, you can't control what happens on the pitch, and even Paul can to a certain extent, but not to. End of the day, sometimes it's the luck of the game. Even you look at some of the decisions that we've had this year, things that have gone against us, and these 1, 2 points, 3 points can make a big difference to the end of your season where we are just now. But I think everybody is reacting. The fans on Saturday on Monday getting behind the players, and shouting for Paul, support of Paul. It's fantastic. Paul's here long term, and we're hopeful that he can keep us in League One and go on to better things next season for the full football club.
Beautiful.